Hi, it's Ralph Stokley again at Stokley's Marine with my tip of the week. And you know, it's been a long, really cold winter this year, and with a cold winter, sometimes your boat gets neglected because you're not out fishing. We don't have those 50, 60 degree days where you think, boy, I gotta go in January, February. We haven't had that this year, so your boat's probably been covered up for a little bit longer than normal, and you might need to take some extra precautions when you're getting it ready for the season. So when it's time to get the boat out, let's not wait until the end and say, hey, I'm going fishing tomorrow. Let's go ahead and think about it in advance, and let's get it ready to go before the season gets here. So first thing you want to do, get that boat out. Let's get the cover off of it. Let's start looking inside, and let's see what we've got and what the long, hard, cold winter did to you. So now you've got the cover off, you want to take a look at the general condition. I noticed first of all that on the inside of this cover it's really wet. You know why? We didn't have a support system underneath there holding the cover up so that water would run off of it. So water tends to puddle in it and then it comes through the cover. So now we're going to start looking at our seats. Do our seats have any kind of mold or mildew issue with them? If they do, we're going to have to do some deep cleaning with these with a scrub brush, try to get that mold and mildew off. And as we've talked about before, the best thing you can do for mold and mildew is to prevent it before it comes. So remember our no damps, the things that hang on the steering wheel. You want to remember those all year round, but especially in the wintertime. And it's not too late to put one in now if you go ahead and get your boat cleaned up. Get you one of the no damps, hang it up on the steering wheel, keep the boat good and dry on the inside, but have that support system on your cover so the water runs off. Okay, so next we're going to go back to our battery compartment and check it out. You remember this boat's had some water in it, and I cannot pull this up. It's frozen down. Well, it's because there's moisture in there, carpet's frozen together, so if I had more time, I'd let it sit out in the sun and thaw, but I don't. So we're going to try to pry it up and see what we can do to get it up. So now we've got it open, we access the battery compartment. We want to get in there and look at the dates on the batteries. When were these batteries installed? This boat was installed in 2018. So this battery's probably still in good shape. It's only a year old, but it definitely needs some maintenance, need to be checked. We're going to check the acid level in the batteries. We're going to check that it's got a good solid charge on both of them. And we're also going to look at the post where the wires go on, make sure they're clean, no corrosion on there. If they do, we'll take a little mixture of baking soda and water, put it on there and clean that acid or that crud off of it, then clean them and put them back on. So checking your battery is a really important thing. Make sure you got a good charge on your starting battery and your trolling motor battery, and that your circuit breakers, your fuses, everything is all working like they should. The other side of the thing, we've got to be able to check our motor and make sure everything's good on our motor. Now, did you do your fall maintenance? Because if you didn't, your oil might need to be changed. Did you change the lower unit oil? And we always recommend you do these services in the fall, but not everybody listens to the recommendations, and so, you know, we're not going to get you in trouble for it, but you have to pay attention to this stuff. So if you didn't do it then, the problem, if you ever had water get into a system, into your lower unit or engine oil, water freezes up over the winter time and it can do damage to it whenever it freezes up. So you want to make sure that you check and make sure there's no water in there in the fall. But now we're going to go ahead and change them anyway. So next step would be to look at your lower unit oil, change it if it hadn't been done. Just check your engine oil in your motor too for the 4-stroke motors. Make sure that the level's good. Now if it's a 2-stroke motor that's oil injected, just add to it. Top off your oil injection. Sometimes it's under the hood. Sometimes there's a reservoir down inside your boat, but you want to top that off. But with the 4-strokes, just check your level, be sure you're right. If it needs to be, if it's dirty oil, let's change it. Next, we want to go up to the control area, and we're going to go up and we're going to work on all our switches up here. So we're going to look and see what works, what doesn't. Aerator switch. Turn the aerator on. I can hear it working. Pretty confident that our aerator is going to work when we get in the water. Bilge pump, same thing. It's really quiet. Sometimes you have to listen really close to make sure that bilge pump's working. If it doesn't sound like it's moving, could be frozen up again like the lid was. Be careful you don't run it too long, because if that's frozen up, it's not going to allow it to turn. You might need to thaw it out. If it's worse than that, a little bit older one, you might need to clean debris out of it. If that's the case, you need to have a good clean bilge down underneath where your batteries are. If it's dirty down there, if it's got debris, get your shop vac, clean that up really good. Next, you want to check your lights. You want to make sure that your bow and stern lights working. Plug those in, turn them on, make sure they're working. You want to be legal if you get out early in the morning or late in the evening and you need your lights. You want to make sure they're working. And the horn, if you got a horn on the boat, you want to check it. If you don't have a horn, then you want to be sure that you've got a canister horn with you or a whistle, so you'll be legal when you're out on the water. Next, we want to check our power trim. Be sure that it's working like it should. Trim's up and down like it should. And then we want to take the boat outside. We're going to hook it to the garden hose. We're going to start it up. So we're going to put it on the water and make sure that it runs, because there's nothing worse than getting to the lake for the first time for the season and your boat doesn't start. So real important to go ahead and start it. Now, if you didn't do like we talked about and put the gas treatment in there, again, you want to check your gas and give it the sniff test. Open it up, smell in there. If it smells stale, smells bad, then you need to get your gas drained out and start with a fresh tank of gas. But if your gas is not that old, then you want to go ahead and put some treatment in there anyway. Mercury makes the number 1, number 2, and 3. Those are real important things. The number 2 is the cleaner that you'd want to use. Number 3 is for storage. Number 1 is for ethanol. So remember those cleaners when you go through. Make sure you use that mercury cleaner in your gas. So let's get it started up. Let's get it running. Everything looks good on the motor. Next thing we got to look at your trolling motor. You want to check your trolling motor, lift it up off the front end, put it down in the where the water would be, turn the buttons on and off, check your speeds, make sure your trolling motor is working like it should. Make sure the steering cable moves nice and smooth from side to side. Next, we want to look at our trailer. So we're going to go down to our trailer and we're going to check our tire pressure. And we talk about tire pressure a lot because it's one of the most forgotten things on a boat. Because it's, you used to go to the gas station and they would check your tire pressure on your car. That doesn't happen anymore. So now it's your responsibility to do it. And everybody forgets to do it. Remember, on your boat, it's really important because your boat will set sometimes for 6 months. You go out on the highway, first time out, those tires heat up and they've got low inflation. You get a flat, or maybe not get a flat, you might just start getting funny wear on them and then you have to replace a set of tires prematurely. So we don't want to do those things. Tire pressure on a boat's real important, and they run typically 50 pounds of pressure, so it's a lot higher than what your car is. Check that tire pressure. Make sure that your spare is up to tire pressure as well. A lot of times people will do the 2 on the ground or the 4 on the ground and forget that they've got a spare there that needs to be up to the same pressure. So check that spare tire as well. Last thing that I'm going to talk about is you want to look at your wheel bearings. If you've got a tracker style boat where you can check your wheel bearings easily, we've got a rubber plug on the end. Take a screwdriver, we can pop that end of it off. We can look in there and just kind of give it a visual inspection, see if there's any water that's in your bearings. If there is, now's the time to do a bearing flush. And again, fall would have been a better time, but it's better to do it now than never. And if those bearings haven't been flushed in a long time, it may be necessary to do a complete repack where you take the bearings apart, take your rear seal out, put a new seal in, pack them with new grease, put it back on. That's something you need to do every few years, but the bearing flush is something you ought to do every season. This rubber plug on the outside, it needs to be changed once a year because those things dry rot and they'll let water get in, cause you problems. So I've given a long list today of things that you want to look at, but these are just a short list of the many things that we check whenever you bring a boat in to us for service. And we've been through all this for the do-it-yourselfers, but not everybody's a do-it-yourselfer. So we're here as the professionals to go through these things. And we've got the trained eye to see those little things where maybe you've got a leak here or a problem there that you just didn't even know that you had. And we've got the ability to find those problems and help fix it before it becomes an issue to you. So remember, we're always here. We're happy to work on your boat, and we are the trained professionals to work on your Mercury or Tracker or whatever you have, Nitro as well. So Stokley's Marine is always available. If you don't want to do these things, come and see us.